The Milky Way might not have a planet besides Earth to sustain life, but scientists have discovered at least 55 planets with Earth-like characteristics. Hence, the notion of extraterrestrial life is not far-fetched. It is likely that somewhere far from Earth, a civilization just as advanced as mankind might exist, and it is also possible that they send probes in search of other civilizations. NASA and other space agencies have also launched several missions to look for extraterrestrial life. Some of these missions have made astonishing discoveries. Unfortunately, the hype around these discoveries dies down after the initial sensation. It is probably because such incidents are reported in abundance, which compels us to change our focus. We tend to forget the previous discoveries and go after the recent ones. And it is precisely what we want to change with this video. NASA's archives are full of such discoveries, and some make very credible evidence to support alien life. So, stay with us as we bring you the evidence of extraterrestrial life straight out of NASA archives. 1960 Project Mercury sighting. Project Mercury was the first ever space mission launched by NASA with the objective of putting the first men in space. Several flights, manned and unmanned, were launched into space from 1958 to 1963. Like every other mission, the flights completed their course, took some photos, and came back. At the time, it was a significant success for NASA, but no evidence of alien life was reported back then. Frankly, it is quite possible that scientists never saw the footage and images from that perspective. Back then, the priority was to put men in space, and that is it. But now that people understand the likelihood of aliens is quite plausible, people often go through the old footage with a new perspective. Scott C. Waring, a prominent UFO researcher and former U.S. Air Force pilot, went through the old footage and found something incredible. One of the unmanned missions, while orbiting, captured an object that resembled a UFO. It seemed like the object was in place to watch as humans stepped into space. Waring, in his blog, wrote, "I found a disc in some photos of the Mercury mission. The mission took place in December of 1960, and why would aliens not be interested in watching a historical moment in human history?" Following the discovery, several scientists chipped in and tried to offer some explanation. Some suggested that the object was part of space debris, but others find this argument rather unsound, and because of good reasons. The presence of humans in space before 1958 was minimal, and the spotted object did not resemble the spacecraft or satellites launched by humans. The incident eventually died down and has not been talked about since. Hacked NASA files. NASA may pretend it is a transparent organization and tells everything to the taxpayers, but the truth is far from that. Even after the Right to Information Act, the organization has tried to conceal several discoveries from the U.S. and world residents. And the fact was validated by Gary McKinnon, who hacked into NASA files between February 2001 and March 2022. While some suggest that hacking never happened, facts point toward other directions. The penalty for hacking into government files is about 70 years in prison and a fine of up to $2 million. No sane individual would want to claim that one has hacked into files just to gain popularity. The punishment is just too severe for that. The UFO hacker claimed that he found an entire book named The Disclosure Project. It was a lengthy document that contained mysterious sightings reported by credible professionals, including air traffic controllers, pilots, and even individuals responsible for launching nuclear warheads. The document essentially accounted for a large number of UFO sightings that were reported by these individuals. Unfortunately, NASA itself never discussed this project on any public forum. When asked about what evidence McKinnon had regarding extraterrestrial life, he said, "A NASA photographic experts said that there was a Building 8 at Johnson Space Center where they regularly airbrushed out images of UFOs from the high-resolution satellite imaging. I logged on to NASA and was able to access this department. They had huge, high-resolution images stored in their picture files. They had filtered and unfiltered, or processed and unprocessed files." During the interview, he also claimed to have found pictures of a giant alien aircraft which was taken from footage of a NASA space mission. The hacker was arrested from the UK, and his extradition was requested by the US. But since the arrest, the focus has been shifted to a legal battle instead of what the hacker discovered. U.S. Roosevelt Gimbal videos. U.S. Roosevelt, commonly known as the Gimbal videos, were leaked from the archives of the U.S. military. It was a series of 3 videos made via U.S. Navy aircraft that showed an encounter with a UFO. The jet that took off from U.S. Roosevelt had 2 pilots, one of whom made the videos. The second pilot observed the movements and details of the UFO with the sophisticated technologies on board. While flying above the eastern seacoast, the infrared camera detected an unidentified aircraft. The videos are available online, but the recording is a bit blurry, considering it was taken from a lot of distance. However, even in the blurry footage, the UFO-like characteristics of the aircraft are certainly notable. In the audio recording, pilot can be heard dubbing the object as a weird-looking object. The pilots first assumed that it was a drone, but the wind at the time was too strong for a drone to fly that high. Furthermore, the object was rotating in orbit in a counterclockwise fashion. No aircraft is capable of rotating at such a high speed, which takes the likelihood of it being another aircraft out of the equation. The pilot was heard saying, "Look at that thing. It is rotating," in the audio. The UFO came to a halt after some time and disappeared into nowhere. While hundreds of such videos are available online, this particular series stands out because the Pentagon vouches for it. But despite that, no serious inquiry was made about the incident, and it eventually died down. UFOs orbiting around Sun. NASA's live streams quite often become the topic of conspiracy theories. Space enthusiasts and UFO spotters observe these streams keenly, and oftentimes certain anomalies are spotted in the stream, which leads to speculations of sightings of UFOs. But the footage about to discuss stands out as it also interests credible scientists. In October 2017, a tiny bright speck appeared on a telescope at Haleakala Observatory in Hawaii. After the initial investigations, it was concluded that it arrived from the direction of Vega, an alien star that is about 147 trillion miles away from Earth. The scientists named the object Oumuamua, which is Hawaiian for messenger from afar arriving first. Its blistering speed, 57,000 miles per hour, and characteristic shape compelled the experts to term it a UFO. Furthermore, it had an elongated cigar-like shape, which appeared as spaceship-like discs from a distance. Surprisingly, the shape of the object is the same as Gary McKinnon described in an interview, and he hacked the files back in the early 2000s. So this finding does not just provide evidence of alien life, but also validates the claims of McKinnon. Like always, some tried to invalidate the evidence of extraterrestrial life in this incident, but it did hold because the individual who discovered it happened to be a brilliant scientist too. Robert Warwick and his colleague ran a series of analyses to prove that it was not an ordinary sighting. The first theory that it might have been a comet was debunked because it did not have the tail that is characteristic of most comets. Others dubbed it a rogue asteroid, but that did not stand as well because the object was accelerating away from the sun, and it was probably the most authentic proof that it was indeed an alien spaceship. That is really the straw that broke the camel's back for me, so to speak. In addition to the sun's force of gravity, there was something pushing it away. In order to explain this push, you need about 1/10 of the mass of this object to evaporate. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb. So there you have it, the credible evidence obtained from NASA and the U.S. government archives that make a strong case for the existence of alien life. Let's end this video with an intriguing quote from Stephen Hawking that might serve as food for thought for many. One day, we might receive a signal from a planet like ours, but we should be wary of answering back. Meeting an advanced civilization could be like Native American encountering Columbus. That didn't turn out so well. Whether humanity should try to contact aliens is a debate that would be covered in another video. So stay connected with us to learn more news about space and astonishing discoveries that are being made by space agencies every day. We will see you at the next one.